Hello, I am Widad Boualou, a PhD student in Management Sciences at the Research Laboratory of Financial and Management Forecasting of Casablanca, SNCG. I am very pleased to be able to participate in the International Conference on Smart Technologies and Applied Research organized in Istanbul, Turkey, and to contribute to the development of reflection on the knowledge economy, intangible capital, and its contribution to organizational resilience in the era of intensive use of communication and information technologies. Today's world is under the influence of the rapid changes caused by globalization, the rise of the knowledge economy, and the accelerated development of information and communication technologies. The evolution of ICTs is closely linked, on one hand, to their use and appropriation by the people involved in this process, and on the other hand, to the range of functions they cover and the performance they enable within an organization. In addition, with the advent of ICTs, we've seen an upheaval in the way we perceive information. In fact, technologies have facilitated communication and work in communities without the need to physically interact with one another, reducing the temporal and spatial dimensions of the economy. As a result, these environmental changes are modifying organizational behavior and generating real-time knowledge sharing and transfer processes that would have been inconceivable under previous circumstances. In the same way, the advent of knowledge economy has transformed the classic industrial configuration of the business model of companies, based essentially on their productive capacity. It also placed knowledge at the heart of the most important strategic assets available to the same companies. In Morocco, ICT's use has intensified since the onset of the COVID-19 health crisis in 2020. To this end, and through this study, our aim is to investigate the impact of ICTs on the knowledge transfer process within Moroccan organizations. What is knowledge transfer? What are the main factors determining its success, and how do ICTs facilitate knowledge sharing within the organization? Very briefly, we will go through some key concepts of the literature on knowledge management and ICTs. Then we will present the methodological framework of this study, main results, and finally, the main research perspectives. The literature on knowledge management is rapidly expanding, and like any other emergent discipline, knowledge management has many definitions. In fact, each researcher, author, or organization proposes its own definition, and each of these definitions starts from a particular perspective, object, process, ICT, etc., and reflects the author's disciplinary field. Therefore, there are different conceptions and sometimes divergent definitions of knowledge management, but a central theme is present in all the definitions: managing knowledge and encouraging human resources to share it in order to create value-added products and services. Nonaka in 1994, in a founding article, proposed an approach to knowledge creation in the organization articulated around a permanent dialogue between tacit knowledge based on individual experience and involving intangible factors such as personal belief, perspective, and values, and explicit knowledge directly understandable and expressible by individuals, which contributes to the creation of value. In addition, to analyze knowledge creation, Nonaka and Takeuchi in 1995 used the knowledge spiral to define the conditions and steps of its development. The essential contribution of this theory is to detail the continuous relationship between tacit and explicit knowledge, which has strongly influenced all current research and approaches to knowledge management. The creation and transfer of knowledge within an organization are dynamic processes, with the objective of managing elements that are as diverse as they are abstract, such as practices, experience, expertise, and more, which can be accessed by organizational agents. In this regard, we emphasize the use of technology in the knowledge transfer process because when used in isolation from the manner in which it is employed, it contributes only marginally to knowledge management. Moreover, there are numerous factors that can influence knowledge management and sharing practices within organizations, including access to and the use of information and communication technologies. According to Adele, these influencing factors are organizational mechanisms for fostering knowledge uniformly. They can stimulate knowledge creation, protect knowledge, and facilitate knowledge sharing within an organization. The real challenge is to understand these factors and then act on the appropriate action levers to promote knowledge management initiatives. In fact, the use of ICTs fundamentally alters the conditions for knowledge creation and sharing within the organization, as well as its integration with the production system. These technologies play a paramount role in the processing, storage, and exchange of knowledge, and then facilitating the formation of knowledge links. In order to provide some answers to our research questions, a qualitative data collection and analysis methodology was applied, and the interview was chosen as the first main data collection tool. In fact, interviews enable us to analyze the meaning actors give to their practices and the events they encounter. During the exploratory phase, information was gathered through semi-directive face-to-face interviews with managers. This step was essential to understand the way information circulates within the various entities and the nature of the relationship between individuals and the technologies at their disposal. Then, in the light of these interviews, a questionnaire was drawn up and administered online via a web-based survey tool, which has become a common instrument for data collection in today's context, in order to complete the analyses and confirm the points raised during the various interviews. Our study sample was drawn from entity managers, knowledge management practitioners or knowledge facilitators, and employees from various specialties, with age ranging from 25 to 60. In this study, 13 individual semi-directive interviews were conducted face-to-face, enabling us to gather information for a series of guiding questions and to offer our various participants a framework in which they could express themselves freely from a qualitative perspective. These interviews also enabled us to construct our quantitative questionnaire in order to better define the subject of our research and to provide greater clarity to the elements of the answers returned on a larger scale. To analyze the data collected, the 13 interviews were entirely transcribed and the data were categorized according to the similarities and differences identified in the main themes covered by the survey. The aim was to summarize the data using frequencies, measures of central tendency, and measures of dispersion. As for the online questionnaire, the results of the analysis were automatically generated from an online survey tool. The results of the quantitative study will be presented and discussed along three main lines. The first axis revolves around the perception of the importance of knowledge management within the organization. The second one focuses on organizational practices in terms of knowledge sharing. And the third one examines determining factors that encourage knowledge transfer within the organization. Responses from individual interviews showed that knowledge is a strategic asset for the organization and that knowledge management practices have been significantly impacted by the introduction of ICTs into organizational work routines. In fact, the use of ICTs was judged to facilitate the transfer of knowledge within organizations through tools and means such as intranets and collaborative tools in the form of information exchange spaces that promote collaboration. This study highlights the important role of information and communication technologies in supporting business activities and in facilitating the acquisition, retention, and sharing of both explicit and tacit knowledge. In the light of this work, we might be interested in an in-depth study of the impact of ICTs on knowledge management processes in different business sectors and the sustainable competitive advantage they provide to organizations. I strongly invite you to read the different studies that have been conducted by the founding fathers of this emerging discipline, which finds its beginnings in the daily and common practices of organizational. And finally, I would like to thank all the organizers of this event, professors, administration, and PhD students.